more of our audience joining in. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our webinar series, season 4 episode. So, over the years, we've been talking about various aspects of recycling. So, as I say, season 4 is the fourth year in running and continuous year in running that we are conducting these webinars. And clearly, the whole objective of this objective of the webinar series is to help create awareness among people as well as among ourselves in terms of the various aspects of e-waste and e-waste management and the e-waste recycling processes. And then over the years, now we have moved to the element of this year, the entire series is on decoding circularity. How do we ensure circularity? So in this series, we are deep diving, exploring all aspects of circularity. And in today's webinar, our specific topic of discussion is about figuring out and how do you are exploring what are the things that's happening in the recycling of difficult to recycle fractions, which are in the e-waste. So over the years, we have had while we conduct these webinars, and we have had our dear sponsors who have been supporting us in running these webinars, and these are Apple, Dell, Canon India, Cisco, and Ericsson. So they have been helping us conduct these webinars for the last. While we talk about e-waste, we have talked a lot about how e-waste is generated, why we need to do e-waste management, and what are the aspects of recycling e-waste, etc. These are aspects that we have gone through in detail and talked about it. But then, as we all know, when we are recycling e-waste, there are only about a certain percentage of e-waste, part of the components and the parts of the products that get recycled. In many products, there are only about anywhere between 50 to 70% of the parts that get recycled, or the materials that get recycled. And the remaining material, these are hard to recycle, hard to dismantle or extract, or even hard to come out and extract the material that is there. So what we're looking for is, and focus on today, is more in terms of how do we find answers to these materials for which recycling is challenging. Either if you're talking about extraction of these materials, for example, we can talk about the displays. Today, most of us are glued on displays. We are looking at each other through these displays. And clearly, we can see that what is happening is that in these displays, there are materials, especially the screens which we use, which we stare at. There is material this technology that doesn't exist for extracting the material that's on these displays. So the displays technically cannot be recycled. So in many locations, these displays are sent to the technical landfills, or otherwise these materials are they're going wasted. So why is this issue? Why is that we do not have the answers? Is it due to lack of focus from policies? Are there no technical solution? Is the ecosystem not existing? That is the whole idea of this webinar, and trying to bring the ecosystem together and to find some viable and scalable solutions for the difficult to recycle fractions, and try and make the recycling of the e-waste, these e-waste fractions, a reality. So we have a very diverse set of speakers out here. So we have Mr. Gautam, Dr. Gautam from the Pollution Control Board and Committee in Delhi. We have from manufacturing, we have the Manufacturing Association, and we also have from a researcher and an academic. So we have a diverse set of speakers out here. We will introduce them as we go forward. Before we start the panel, we are looking at structuring it. We are looking to Dr. Gautam to give us some opening remarks, maybe till about 3:15 or so. And from 3:15 to 4, we would get into the panel discussions with Dr. Dubey, Dr. Saurikhia, and Josh out here, or Josh, should I say. So Talking about Dr. Gautam, Dr. Gautam is a senior environmental engineer at the Delhi Pollution Control Committee. Uh, he began his career with the CSIR and INS dog project for 25 years back, so more than 25 years of experience under his belt. And talking about scientific standards, and he's been consulting on pollution control in the pulp. Since 1997, he has led implementation of key environmental law protection acts, as well as rules on biomedical waste, hazardous waste, plastics, and e-waste management. I really would request Dr. Gautam and sir, it's a pleasure to have you with us once again. It'll be a real pleasure to hear about your experience with e-waste management, your observations about what is happening in the sector currently and how it has changed over the years. Over to you, sir, Dr. Gautam.
Good afternoon to everyone. Am I audible? Am I audible? Good afternoon to everyone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Your voice is a little mild, sir, but I think we can hear you.
Good afternoon to everyone. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, but your voice is a bit on the lower side.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Go ahead.
In fact, I am suffering from some little bit viral.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So myself, Dr. Gautam, and working in the Pollution Control Board more than 25 years. And during the last 2 years, we are dealing with the e-waste management rules. What we learned from this e-waste, there are big challenges like this informal sector. Informal sector is growing much less than the formal. And during this working of this e-waste, we also learned recyclers, the business of the EPR. It is also some little bit very cumbersome. That needs also some simplification. And other points e-waste management in India, pros and cons. There are some advantage and some disadvantage. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. During the working with the e-waste management rules, we learned many challenges like informal sectors, EPR process, and other recycling facilities. Recycling facility, what they are doing, this is the EPR business. Personally, what I feel is this EPR business only on papers. This is on papers. This is not on ground, but it should be on the ground. It is not happening. In this circumstance, what I am observing, the big producers that needs to set up their own this recycling plant, and same time that needs to have this synthesized with the informal sectors. Okay, in absence of clarity, this informal sector is growing more than formal sector. So in that scenario, I would like to suggest some recommendation for this proper e-waste management, like formalization of the recycling chain. दूसरा boosting recycling infrastructure. तीसरा हमारा enhance accountability via EPR. And next, regulatory oversight through CPCB registration. And at the same time, this state board also needs some this monitoring part. In the present setup, this state board monitoring part is lacking. So that also needs the state board also needs to upgrade their monitoring for this e-waste management. And like in Delhi, we are looking in Delhi, being Delhi master plan do not permit this recycling activity in Delhi. So that's why Delhi depend upon the nearby recycling plants. In that scenario, what is happening? The Kavadiwalas, they are taking the waste from this big bulk consumers, and that waste is going into the informal sector like Silampur and Mustafabad and Mundka. So there is a heap of e-waste, and this growing of this informal sector, वहाँ का population है, that is also being affected adversely. So in Delhi के केस में what we are observing, it is very big challenge कि how we can shift to formal sector. क्योंकि most of the e-waste जो है is going into informal sector. Like I mentioned, the Silampur Mustafabad, so it's very मतलब big challenge over there. Number two, जो EPR का कंसेप्ट है, EPR का कंसेप्ट में भी जो है यानी कि कुछ लैकिंग है, उसमें कुछ जो है डेफिशिएंसीज है. जो EPR है उसमें क्या है कि जो रिसाइकलर्स हैं वो अपने जो क्रेडिट पॉइंट्स हैं उसको दे आर जो है यानी कि सेलिंग जो है उसमें भी जो है यानी कि कुछ ना कुछ जो है यानी कि डेफिशिएंसी जिसके अंदर जो अकाउंटेबिलिटी ठीक न होने से वो यानी कि सिर्फ जो है यानी कि एक पेपर एक्सरसाइज चल रही है. तो दैट इज आल्सो नीड टू एड्रेस. इसके अलावा जो आई वुड आल्सो लाइक टू मेंशन कि जो रेगुलेटरी एंड अपडेट प्रोडक्ट है उसको भी हमें कवर करने की जरूरत है. मॉनिटरिंग स्ट्रेंथनिंग की जरूरत है इसमें. रेज कंज्यूमर्स एंड इंस्टीट्यूशनल अवेयरनेस, यस दिस इज आल्सो इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट कि e-waste management rules came into 2022 latest rules and came into effect from the 1st April 2023. But still what we are finding, people are जो है confused about the e-waste जो है. Most of the persons are confused. They understand कि e-waste means जो electronic waste only. Not only जो है यानी कि general public, even educated person also understand कि e-waste is only electronic items. But as per latest rules जो है this is not जो है electronic item. It has been expanded to 106 items, schedule 1. So all these kind of waste जो है this is covered under e-waste. दूसरा है हमारा जो है अवेयरनेस का, जैसे मैंने बताया कि अवेयरनेस पे बहुत जरूरत देने की जरूरत है. अवेयरनेस का यानी कंसेप्ट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो दैट्स व्हाई वी नीड टू स्ट्रेस ऑन द अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम. इसके अलावा है बिल्ड प्रोसेसिंग कैपेसिटी एंड इको इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नेशन वाइड. तो एक जो है हमारा जो है बियॉन्ड दिल्ली इको पार्क, स्केल अप रीजनल रिसाइकलिंग फैसिलिटीज विद मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी. Public private partnership can be scaled across urban center to handle e-waste volumes. Like I mentioned, Delhi developing this dedicated eco park where this e-waste would be this dismantled and recycled. This would be dedicated facility. But this is still जो है under यानी कि progress. अभी this is not finalized so far. Learn from the global best practice. Next, globally, what is happening for this e-waste? This is also need to understand, and this can be we can learn from your like this expertise. Or you have invited today expert. We can learn from them कि what यानी कि global practice nationally as well as जो है globally what is happening. So we can learn. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Gautam. Thanks a lot for your thoughts there. Yes, yeah, a lot of challenges are there. We need to enhance multiple things, as you rightly said, from the basic understanding of what is e-waste, which is originally was ID waste. Now that it has expanded to 106 different categories, most people, even very well educated people, even bulk consumers and even producers, many producers for that matter, are still not aware. So I think that is a very critical thing in terms of spreading awareness as to what are the things that constitute an e-waste. And in terms of providing teeth to the regulatory authorities to actually go monitor, audit, find out these plants and which are the plants which are actually doing the work. I'm sure you have seen the article recently, online article by this News Laundry. They have audited somewhere about 41, or at least they've gone to 41 locations where there are supposedly authorized recyclers in Western UP, Rajasthan, Haryana, as well as Uttarakhand, and out of which they found evidence of actual working only in 2. So there are so many different things that are emerging, and one would only hope that people like you and the other regulatory authorities who would like to actually go take care of all of these things, bring in the right practices, have the sufficient bandwidth as well as the authority to go and check on these things and make it happen. Thank you very much for your kind words, sir. Thank you very much. So with that, we will slowly move on to the panel discussion on the difficult to recycle fractions in e-waste. So the panel, as we spoke earlier, we have three of our panelists. We have Josh and Dr. Saurikhia and Dr. Dubey. Talking about Josh, what do I say? Josh, University of Texas, Arlington, Josh, correct? For about 30 years back, and then on to straight into Nokia, and then setting up, and from then on, Josh has been into setting up electronic manufacturing and establishing them large-scale facilities in the country. So setting up, being a very, very major hand in setting up the Nokia Chennai facility, and going on to build the Foxconn facility too. He's currently the president of electronics for Zetwerk Manufacturing, a global manufacturing engineering services company. Over the years, Josh has worked with diverse customers, large-scale operations. As I said, the size of these operations are, I mean, you have to be seen to be believed. And he has managed complex supply chain. Well, and he's a leading voice for active participation of women in manufacturing. And Josh, I remember a few years back when we were having a chat, you're talking about how one of the goals that you're looking at is in finding employment or creating employment, correctly speaking, for almost 1 million people. I'm sure that you've done most of it, and you're still, with all the josh that you have, you're kind of pushing for completing the rest of it or even exceeding that million that you had in mind. So welcome, Josh, and it's a pleasure to see you and talk to you and have you on this panel today. Dr. Brajesh Dubey is a very unique person, in my perception, from the standpoint that we talk about circularity, we talk about decoding circularity, etc., etc. And here is Dr. Dubey, who's actually a professor in circularity engineering, circular engineering. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Circular engineering. Now, he's an educator, researcher, trainer, consultant in the area of circular engineering, environmental engineering, sciences, and health. And he's presently with IIT Kharagpur. Of course, he has done his PhD in environmental engineering and sciences from the University of Florida. He has been working with several government agencies and he has co-authored more than 250 publications, assisted the United Nations, National Geographic Society, and World Bank as a specialist in environmental projects in emerging countries. I'm gasping for breath here, just reading this, Dr. Dubey. Welcome again. You're a person who's been with us before, and it's good to see that you're happy to come and join us once again. Thanks a lot, and welcome again, Dr. Dubey. Dr. Saurikhia, and please, if I'm saying it wrong, kindly correct me. Dr. Saurikhia is an academician and a public policy professional, especially in the domain of management and electronics manufacturing. He has made significant contribution in shaping policies which led to the electronics manufacturing revolution in India. He is currently the Director of Public Policy at India's Cellular and Electronics Association, ICEA, overseeing public policy initiatives to support the mobile and electronics industry in India. Dr. Saurikhia, welcome, and I'm happy to see Pankaj, and I'm sure Josh also has a lot of contribution to it, to move ICA to ICEA. And when ICA has moved to ICEA, Pankaj and all of the contributors like Josh have also added, because the days I used to work with ICA quite some time back, was when there was Pankaj and maybe there was some admin staff. And now I can see that there is a lot of very technical support and director public policy, which means that ICA moving to ICEA has kind of scaled up significantly and is contributing immensely to the country. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Saurikhia. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
let me start with Dr. Dubey first, though. So from an academic perspective, let's start there. Let's get into some amount of manufacturing, and then let's talk about public policy, if you don't mind. And in the process, and it's not going to be like one, the other. We're going to kind of keep going and coming back around. So, Dr. Dubey, most challenging e-waste fractions to is recycle. Which are those most challenging e-waste fractions to recycle? And what are the potential technologies, the trends, breakthroughs in recycling complex e-waste? Your views on that?
So yeah, thank you. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me. And again, good afternoon to all who are present here. And maybe other good evening, good, depending on if the people are from other countries and other continents here as well. So in terms of difficult to recycle, of course, we are, if you look at historically, printed circuit boards has been there. Like if you look at the printed circuit boards, they are like many times you have different metals, different resins, different ceramics. So when they mix together, it becomes kind of difficult to do the resource recovery from there. So whenever we try to look at try to remove the resin, it becomes highly energy intensive and sometimes even polluting. For example, motherboards from the computers and a smartphone. So they are trying to get the valuable materials out is of course is a challenging part when you talk about PCBs. Then batteries are there. Batteries, again, you have risk of fire, chemical complexity is there, lack of a standardized design is there. That's where when I talk about circular engineering, I keep on emphasizing in my class that we need to have actually designed the product for circularity. We should not have end of life approach. Rather, at the very beginning, we should start thinking how to design the product so that we can really bring circularity. So that's having a, because of the lack of a standard design, many times you will have issues in the recycling sector. Uh, Recovery of rare elements, cobalt, lithium, nickel, again, those are a bit of challenging. Batteries from e-vehicles now, that is also kind of going up, different types of batteries. Then BFRs, brominated flame retardants, that have been an issue in terms of plastics, especially when you have BFR makes plastics non-recyclable because of its toxicity. So we're there, we have to have a specialized treatment to reduce the environmental harm. TV casings, older computer monitors, which do show up is still, those are there. And of course, the LCDs that we have been talking about, that's kind of the fourth category that are LCDs, they have a strong optical adhesives. You have fragile components. Some of them may have mercury as well. Some of these CFL backlights have mercury. So there is still automation is limited. We are using manual dismantling. That becomes an issue. It's a multi-material structure. You have glass with indium tin oxide, conductive coatings are there, liquid crystal layer is there, and then each material reacts differently to heat. Their reaction to heat, solvents, or mechanical force, it becomes quite difficult. That's why we have to make selective separation, becomes very challenging. So those are kind of broadly, those are the four categories, like in terms of where we are seeing difficult to recycle electronic products. And in terms of what is happening in this particular sector, is still we are kind of working mostly with pyrometallurgy and hydrometallurgy, some mechanical separation and for batteries, mechanical separation and hydrometallurgical processing. For PCBs, we are working both with hydro and pyro. BFR, there are some chemical recyclings are coming up, advanced separation and chemical recyclings are coming up. And then LCD panels is still, we are doing some manual dismantling followed by some chemical and thermal treatment. So based on, like, of course, some from the industry will kind of educate us more. We are, as a professor, or we always look at the industry to find out what they are doing, and then we bring that in our lecture. So, and I do visit some of the industry, so do have knowledge, but I'm pretty sure people from the industry sector may talk about some of the newer things which is happening in India, which I'm not aware of. So I'll probably stop here right now. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Dubey. Thank you. Yeah. So yes, as you rightly pointed out, the PCBs, the lithium-ion batteries. Yes, at least the good thing that's happening is that today, while as you pointed out, the PCBs and the batteries, either pyrometallurgy and hydrometallurgic, or a combination of these two, are being used. And especially when it comes to lithium-ion batteries, we are seeing quite a few players in the market who are able to do a fair bit of recycling and quite a bit of metals being pulled out, the salts being taken out, etc. So that way, yes, they are a challenge. They were a challenge, but slowly we are kind of overcoming that, as you rightly pointed out. The resins do pose a challenge from a PCB perspective. For the pyrometallurgy, you still have the slag, which one needs to figure out what to do. Whereas the coming to the flame retardants or even just the basic plastics in terms of identifying which plastic is what and then ensuring the right recycling process for that. And going on to extracting all these indiums
Yeah.
from the panels. Those still, I mean, I'm sure maybe Josh can or Dr. Saurikhia may have an answer to it, or they might help us think about it in a certain direction. We are still scrambling around to find some answers to all of these. While in
There's
our
some bioleaching.
recycling,
I was
Anji
saying
sir,
that some
please go
bioleaching processes are also being developed, mostly in the lab scale, and it's a very small pilot
ahead.
scale. We see some papers coming out of that, but I'm not sure. Do we have any bioleaching plant in India, or pretty much anywhere right now where they're using some biological leaching for these? I think Josh may be having some idea, some answers to that as well. Yeah, sorry, I
Yeah,
interrupted you in
that's
between.
not at all, not at all. So yes, so we in some cases we are holding back material inventory because there is no answer to some of the material. We're just talking material, hoping that sooner than later we will have a solution, a technology, a scalable tech which we will be able to use. So we'll come back to that. Moving on to you, Josh. I have maybe off the syllabus a little. One simple question that has been bothering me. Why will a manufacturer be interested in circularity?
I think so. Thank you for reserving a non-PhD question for me. And
Well,
and
we both are there to give each other company, Josh.
no, I think see so when you look at manufacturing, it has evolved, from sort of my Nokia days when I think the value chain was in a way a little straightforward. We had sort of global brands, global mandates, etc. The world has evolved quite a bit. I think when you look at the supply chain, today you have OEMs who could be brands, could be white label companies. You have ODMs who design these products, and then manufacturers who manufacture them, and then of course the component suppliers. So the thing is that it's very complicated now, and the current tariff situation doesn't help. This complexity and the ability for manufacturers to get ready. When all of these things hit, because all of these things, which Professor talked about, are infrastructural items. Dr. Gautam also talked about this being as a part of the policy framework, and you need to have all of these things in place, right? So as a manufacturer, we typically look at the forward logistics part. We don't necessarily look at the reverse logistics or the circular logistics part of the business. So you're sort of unidirectionally looking at things. But this as a business itself, this as a part of your contract definitely looks attractive to manufacturers. Today, it's not sold as that, right? So today, manufacturers like us are only looking at the forward logistics part, and then we do that, right? You push it up a notch to the ODMs. Where is the incentive for them, right? Is it, and they have a lot more say in controlling this. And again, the incentive here would be to say, I'm going to borrow this word circularity. So in manufacturing, we talk about design for manufacturing. Back in the 90s, I used to be big on design for automation, design for assembly, right? Now it's DFC, design for circularity, right? So an ODM or an OEM has a big part to be incentivized to say that, well, you need to design for circularity, right? Are these products easy to tear down, right? Because as Professor said, that these things respond differently to mechanical force, heat, and chemical treatments. So now, as you construct a product, you can also deconstruct the product to say that are they DFC ready, right? So I think that's one. The materials you choose is going to be also important. So saying that, can we deconstruct these materials? Once you pull out a submodule, can I deconstruct this? Is this easily recyclable and whatnot? And I think Dr. Gautam talked about the reverse logistics bit. But now, see, as a manufacturer, suddenly you're looking at the reverse logistics as a business, right? People who do capex as money will be incentivized to say that, well, why don't I build a machine which can recycle this, right? Smelters. And I was talking to somebody in Chennai who does recycle metals, and it goes into cars there. And I said, how do you control the metallurgy? He said, that is my magic, black magic, right? Which we do that. So when you look at the multiple sort of chemistries involved here, multiple metallurgies involved here, this is this is a business opportunity, right, for capex manufacturers and manufacturers like us. So now all of this can come together nicely if we have people like Dr. Aashish, who frame this as a policy. See, today, as Dr. Gautam said, and I'm sure Dr. Aashish will say this, is the last decade in India has been quite monumental. In terms of policy influencing manufacturing, policy creating employment, policy moving the needle, in all directions, right? So going forward, as we go towards Viksit Bharat, so we can see what this idea of circularity, the Honorable Prime Minister has talked about circularity in multiple occasions. So all of these things have to look together. And as a manufacturer, Money, I think it's simple. We'll say, hey, is there a business? Is there an ROI? And I'm sure in a country like India, where we are very entrepreneurial, I'm sure people will jump on that, not on the casual or the informal side, on the formal side, where we start to really formalize these things as business entities. And so it's definitely an incentive for manufacturers and recyclers, in the space. So with that, I'll head it back to you, Mani.
Yeah, thanks for that, Josh. In fact, in that same line, would there be incentive for a manufacturer to look at the circularity when it comes to the supply chain disruptions, especially when it comes to unique material, like some of the recently we went into those rare earth metals, which were running into short supply, and there's critical supply, and today a lot of manufacturing is getting impacted because of lack of availability or something like that. So would that be something of interest? Would that be an incentive for the manufacturers to look at uh, recycling or total circularity?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a great point, and yeah, I mean, if some of the things can be, and again, the chemistry, the resultant metallurgy, the functionality, the function has to be, the integrity of the function has to be maintained. If you're able to get that
Mhm.
recycled carefully, then of course, um, I mean, I don't want to sound corny, but we live in an earth which has limited resources, and now that it's geopolitically influenced, I think definitely recycling a bit of your forward logistics bits is definitely going to come in handy. So absolutely, yes.
Thanks for that, Josh. Just thanks for that. Dr. Saurikhia, now, while we are having a group of people out here, I'm sure in terms of thinking through this and bringing that ecosystem together to do that, we need to have these conversations. We need to drive these conversations and an agenda policy towards circularity. So, how important do you think it is, and how do you think, from an agency like an ICEA, you are able to drive these things?
Uh, we have a little different perspective with respect to
Hmm.
sustainability, circularity. As I joined this industry in 2014, earlier I was in academics, and there was a hot discussion like this informal sector and then formal sector, what need to be done. If you go back in 2012, the nation got its first national policy for electronic, and nation got its first e-waste management rules in 2011. So before that policy, the policy framework was there. But the point is, means I believe anything can sustain once it make a business case. As Josh mentioned, if any means whether manufacturer or recycler need to have this ROI in the corner of his or her mind. So
Right.
I'm not very clear, but since last you can say almost 15 years, we are doing something. We have amended these rules multiple times, like almost 8-10 times, adding something, deleting something, changing the procedure, partially penalizing manufacturers by introducing EPR, that is through. But the larger landscape is this industry, especially circular industry or recycler industry, need little higher level of integrity to get the things done. Recently, what happened, you must be aware of that Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change has mandated that the trading of this EPR credits. So the
Right.
bottom line is 30% of the EC that is there, which
Right.
has increased the cost of these credits by almost, I believe, in some cases it is 7 to 8 times. So
Okay.
this is there, and last month I was there in Niti Aayog, one of the meeting of Niti Aayog, wherein the discussion was that manufacturer need to pay more to ensure that recycling takes place. So I'm not discussing about the technical aspect, what technology, which rare earth element goes where, how it can be leached or recovered, what is the percentage of recovery. Like for rare earth, like even the recovery from the ore is around 1.5 to around 3%. I have heard this. So from ore to rare earth material element or mineral, it is 1 to 2 or 3%. So when it goes into an electronic product and you want to extract it, you can understand the degree again goes to 1%. Like there are various rare earth material. I have an international study for me. I was preparing for this webinar only. So the recovery rate is less than 1%. This is global standard. So when India is not able to sound little pessimistic, but we are not extracting the simple things which are visible by bare eye from bare PCBs, from simple capacitors and all that. So in any case, tech support should be there, and government recently government also mandated that by 2027 the lithium ion cells will use 40% of the recycled material like lithium. And as on date, I am not able to see where the lithium recycling facility is there in the country. So these are projections, forecast, and then it should be like manufacturing drive and circularity drive should go hand in hand. It is not like you are penalizing something to support one industry. So electronic industry in India is still there. There are various studies which says that this industry faces a disability of 8 to up to 14% in some cases. So you are penalizing that manufacturing industry by increasing by mandating EPR targets, then by increasing the cost of that EPR. So you are neutralizing all the incentives you are giving, you are rather penalizing over and above that. So as a policy professional for electronic manufacturing industry, I have multiple, like my views shunts from one to other. Like as a human being, I feel like we have some responsibility towards environment and all that. Secondly, we also have the responsibility to ensure that manufacturing drive for electronic manufacturing should not be disturbed at all. This is the only industry which is performing well. As Josh mentioned, in the last 10 years, we have done miracles. And in last
Absolutely.
next 5 to 6 years, we are planning and envisioning to do bigger miracles. Right? We are manufacturing some 130, 140 billion of electronics, and we are envisioning that we need to take it to 500 billion. Then what happens? Then there are many, you need to file EPR. Then there is some CPCB portals. Not all possible
Dr.
support from CPCB. Sorry. So you were saying something?
No, no, your voice broke in between for a couple of
Okay.
seconds, but please go ahead.
So policy means recycling is one thing, extracting whatever material, whether it is rare earth or abundant earth. I have a different opinion on that. But policy framework should be should scan the feasibility of getting this thing done. By 27, I don't think that we would be able to set up large lithium ion cells, lithium recycling facilities, which can provide recycled lithium to companies like ATL and Monoth and maybe Exide or something. In EVs, there is some possibility, since the grade of lithium, the purity of lithium required for that is little, like it is like 97%, 98%. But for digital applications, mobile phone, it is 99.6 or 7 or 8%. So,
Right.
and ultimately, what will be the economics in it? At what rate that recycled lithium will be available? So, from policy perspective, too many efforts have been done, and they are with good intentions. But somehow the manufacturing industry is perceived as a villain, that they are creating the waste. So that perception correction need to be done.
Let me come from the other side. So I guess the villain is, I mean, from a manufacturing, well, is manufacturing the villain? No, manufacturing is too close to my heart to me to say anything that manufacturing is a villain. But I guess at the end of the day, it is a demand which is driving manufacturing. So we might have to say the demand is the villain, and then who's driving the demand? All of us sitting around this call and many more are driving the demand. So I'm not going to call anybody the villain. It is just the evolution that is driving this. At the end of the day, I guess what, and having heard you now, what it tells me is that it is extremely important, extremely important for all kind of players to sit together, sit around the table to find a solution to this. Because on one side are the heaps and mountains of e-waste. I'm just sticking to e-waste at this point in time. There's multiple types of waste. But for the purpose of this discussion, I'm just sticking to e-waste. There's mountains of e-waste getting generated. There's millions of tons of material that is available. Yes. Now the question about what is the cost earlier to what it is now, you kind of alluded to it. The fact of it is that because as I said earlier, we run two of our own e-waste recycling plants. Plus, we also run a third plant, which is a very strategic partnership for gold extraction from the PCBs, which also you mentioned gold, copper, so and such material that we do. And now and that's a pyrometallurgy plus a hydrometallurgy plant. Now, coming back, the cost has not changed. The cost has remained the same, whether it was in the previous regime or the current regime. The cost has remained the same. It's only that the cost has been recognized now. Earlier, the cost was not being recognized. The cost, whatever was the cost, it was more of a. I mean, I don't want to say what is going on. I think all of us know
So,
around what
Mr.
is going on.
Mr. Ganpati, I have a request. Like, you as a
And
moderator should be neutral, right? You are running your own plants, so
yeah.
so that
I'm not.
means
I'm not wanting to. I'm not wanting to bias the discussion. All I'm trying to say is that it's important that everybody, and I think the point that we were talking about is how do we drive this conversation? How do we drive this agenda? I guess it's important that a whole diverse set of people sit together and start figuring this out because it's important from all aspects. We need to look at it. It's not just from
true, true.
one particular
Yes,
angle that we
I
should
agree
look at
with
it.
this. And I have a different
Yeah.
opinion in that also. Like, I have been working with various bureaucrats in Ministry of Environment. So there was
Hmm.
some candid discussion with one of the director who looks after a particular e-waste. So he
Hmm.
mentioned that the process, like we are in a process of sensitizing the industry, the masses, the manufacturing process. The purpose is not to penalize. The purpose is to sensitize and ensure whatever way it takes, but we need to ensure circularity. That is, so that efforts are there.
Absolutely.
They are means well intended, but somehow means maybe we are more going more aggressive in making policies. So my only point is that both things, circularity and manufacturing, should go hand in hand.
Absolutely. I think there's no doubt about it. There's no contest to that point. Uh, I'll move on to Dr. Dubey, and on this context, How do we bring this ecosystem together, Doctor, to solve this challenge? Any thoughts on that?
Yes. So I keep on saying in whichever platform this similar question or question is asked that actually we have to, all the different stakeholder has to sit down on the same table. And if I use the word, keep their ego aside and then try to solve the problem. And first of all, acknowledge the problem. Many times, even if you look at, if you broaden the discussion a little bit further, like if you go towards municipal solid waste, which is another big thing there, some of the data we know it is not correct, but we kind of work with those data. And same thing for the e-waste as well. See, e-waste is, as mentioned by the first speaker, that majority of that is being ending up in the informal sector. So we have to acknowledge that fact that that problem, whether it's a problem, I don't know, but if we consider it as that's an issue that, and because it's not being, the critical material recovery is not happening in that efficient level that it should possibly happen in a formal sector. The environmental rules and regulations are not being followed, which would like us to get followed. So we have to get everybody on the table, including the informal sector, and somehow have the dialogue. Otherwise, if the 90%, some of the data suggests that 85 to 90% of the e-waste still is going to the informal sector, then we have to formalize that system somehow, and where informal sector should not also feel disadvantaged. See, why they are not coming? Because they're thinking that their job will be taken away, their livelihood will be taken away. So we have to have that dialogue. So bringing all the different stakeholders, manufacturers, regulators, and we are doing a great in terms of policy, but again, I would say that many times the policy are too good to be really implemented. It's a wonderful policy. It looks very nice on paper, but we all know that it cannot be implemented in present ecosystem in our country. We are not ready for that yet. Maybe some European country we started 30 years ago, they are maybe able to do it, but we haven't done that homework yet. We haven't reached that stage yet. So first of all, acknowledging the problem, then looking at our limitations as of today, and coming up with a short-term and long-term goal of really achievable goal. So that kind of discussion, if we have bringing everybody together, that will help us to make real progress. That's what my quick submission on that.
Thank you, Dr. Dubey. Thank you for that. Josh, in that context, how do you see the circular future of electronics manufacturing? Is there something, any trends that you're seeing? Anything that's already developing? India, global?
I mean, like, clearly there is development in materials. It's probably driven for other reasons, shortages, geopolitics, and whatnot. But I'm afraid to say that with all the supply chain disruptions happening now, countries like India needs to be careful about circularity not taking a backseat. So there are other business priorities which may supersede this at this point in time. So we just need to be aware of that. I think everybody in this call, I'm sure, are aware of that. I think so. That's just a footnote of caution. We should not retract back from sort of a good journey we have done, but there are genuine challenges which are quite real right now. But that said, I think as my second or third point, I said that we have to continue to innovate in materials in India. I would encourage the academia to look at monetizing some of the ideas, the innovations, the chemistries which you're preparing, bring it to the market. I think one of the beautiful things which has happened in the last 10 years, aided by government policy, is Startup India. We Zetwerk are a startup, just 7 years old, and then here we are. This month we'll produce about 4.5 million devices. not small by any global standards as well.
Right.
So startups can be looking at these ideas while writing papers. I used to write them also. Is great. I think it's time to sort of productize that. And I think that's going to be very important, so that while you keep the practicality of the current situation, I think we should not stop innovation, coming from the country, looking at chemistry. Yes, there are some solutions Europe, some solutions Japan, Taiwan, etc. I think we should look at that and then see how we can sort of bring it to the market. I think Dr. Dubey said it rightly. I think or rather, Dr. Aashish said it. I think the government's intent is not to penalize, it's to sensitize. And this government academic bridge will be very important, and it'll materialize in the industry. With companies like us and companies like you, Mani, who will sort of bring it to commercial fruition. So I think let's be aware of what's happening in the world. Let's not stop, because it's kind of hard to restart a furnace, which Mani, and so I think we just got to keep the fires burning while we figure this out. Don't stop anything, but just be aware of what's outside there. I'll stop there.
In fact, just wanted to maybe later come back, but then let me talk to you about it now in terms of the ecosystem. So I think somewhere in terms of pointing out the material that is required while we're talking about the secondary materials coming out of recycling and going back into manufacturing. There are multiple aspects to it in terms of understanding the specifications of the materials, making sure the material is usable in the manufacturing context in terms of equal to, let's just use the word virgin material that's being used. And also in terms of making sure that there's a very clear track and trace to ensure that this is secondary material and these are the capabilities. So what can be done together to create that ecosystem, Josh? Any ideas or thoughts that is floating around in the business?
And I mean, I think this is very near and dear to people in Nokia, Mani, you remember. So
Yeah.
I remember this is maybe, I'm going to say probably even 20 years ago. We started with a mandate on certain categories, like packing had to be recycled, right? In Nokia, all Nokia products. So there was a call taken by the brand. Whether or not the consumers found value in that was a call taken by the brand, and that was the beauty of that brand. When you
Josh, we lost you, but
percentage will be allowed into plastics, and so was any of the metal, steel or aluminum, which was used. And so these are all calls which OEMs can take as a brand. And now, whether they do it for brownie points or just the brand promise, I think it's up to them. So I think that's very important starting point where they take a call, and it's not new. It's not new for certain brands, and I feel that today your average Indian consumer is quite accepting of maybe not necessarily paying a premium, but definitely saying that,
not
well,
yet there.
is this yeah, it is, but is it ethical? All those things are watched at least. Maybe they're not ready to pay yet, but I think at least they're ready to watch, and I think that's a great progress. And see, remember, Mani, see, we package India into one market. It's not, and you were on the sales side of the business than me, and I think India is three Indias, ABC, and the A category is the so-called developed world, and that is already the size of Scandinavia. End of the decade, it'll be the size of Japan. right? And so people say that India is a low-cost country. I said, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's maybe India C, right? So India A is still top tier, and the expectations are going to be different there. There. So I think you will get that traction, and B is very aspirational. These are the guys who are ordering the so-called premiumization. The top is premium, second is premiumization, right? Which is something people, and all of them are looking at the circularity also. Today they're not ready to pay the price, but but they will. I think as the market and the marketplace and then the consumer becomes a little bit more aware and savvy there. But I think I feel that we in India, it starts with the brand, the consumer, and then I think all of that will follow through. So that ecology which we have, the government of India, along with the state governments, have been on. I'll say, if not 10 years, 5 years, they've been very, very much on with the schemes. For the government, we could look at some incentive, and this is something which I will ask Dr. Aashish to take it forward. Is maybe there is an incentive, to say that, well, and if you're able to recycle certain rare, abundant earth, or whatever you want to say that, but rarer materials, I think it's good for India, right? So you don't need to. So maybe there is an incentive scheme which the government can look at, and that will give that commercial edge money, to make that viable. So it's not just roses and stems, So it is something tangible, which allows manufacturers to invest behind. So those could be some ideas of how you can develop the sort of the ecology or the ecosystem.
Oh, that's a great idea, Josh. Thanks for that. And Dr. Saurakhia, I guess I'll just on time at this point in time. There are a couple of questions over there, but before that, my question to you, Dr. Saurakhia, is that from an ICA perspective, in terms of priorities for the circular electronics economy, okay, taking forward from where Josh left it. How do you propose to take it forward? What are the kind of industry level solutions that you would want to look at? What are their thoughts over there? What would they be? Sir, you're on mute, Dr. Saurikhia.
Right. Now I am audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
So I see for electronic industry, government in last 10 years has given too many schemes, made too many schemes, right from incentivizing to tariff rationalization and classification, interpretation issues. Lot of efforts has been done. I believe similar efforts need to be done in this circular economy. What type of disabilities this industry is facing, what is the quantum of those disabilities, and how to mitigate them. Any tech partnership required, any FDI is required in this sector. I remember in the SPECS scheme, the capex support of 25% was given to recycling industry also. So that was the incentive, upfront incentive given to this industry. That is, in terms of incentivizing this industry or providing support, that was the only scheme in terms of providing directly money to the industry. But I believe more PLI and more outcome-based incentive policy framework should be there for the recycling industry. Like how much you are extracting from how much waste material, something like this. I do not know. We need to think and work on that. But in any case, this is required. Second, there should be a very, very heavy penalty structure for the informal sector. Like it is also providing jobs, but that job can be transferred to formal sector. So a whole lot of policy hard work is required for this sector from association side, your side, and also from policymakers side.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. There are a few questions out here. Let me just read out and then figure out who is possibly it is addressed to. And so one question is about the present trade tariff uncertainty, country-specific tariff, trade barriers, cause a serious setback to circular economy initiative, considering that there are serious recycling infrastructure gaps, especially in complex fractions, etc., etc. Similarly, it has serious implications for the electronic industry too, considering the global supply chain and complexity of hundreds of thousands of parts that go into the manufacturing of various devices. So how much will this is this going to affect us is the kind of question that is up here. So Josh, would you want to, the global supply chain boss?
Sorry, I got distracted a little bit. Can you repeat that quick question one more time, please?
Essentially, summing that whole thing up, it was a very long question, but summing it up essentially on the trade tariffs and specific countries, etc., etc. How is that, and especially coming towards both recycling as well as manufacturing? How is it? What is the way it is going to affect us?
I mean, I think that's a very long
Very,
topic.
very big, long topic. Let's try to keep it to this subject here, Josh. Maybe I'll push it that way.
I think as I said before, I think there are compulsions right now because of all the different conversations happening,
Right.
and so it's quite sensitive, for everybody, and so we just need to make sure that the circularity agenda doesn't sort of die off at this time. I think just need to keep the flame alive, and then continue to find alternate pathways. I think because I think the beautiful point somebody made of, or I think you made it. I think recycling to getting back into production, I think is going to become a big okay, going forth, not just in India but everywhere, just because of the geopolitics of this matter. So I definitely see there is a business case, for that, and so as long as we're able to tie those two ends together, I think then we'll be successful.
Thanks, Josh. There's another question here, possibly Dr. Dubey, you can take a look at it, and maybe I would add to that towards the end. It's a statement and a question. It says that in theory, almost anything can be recycled. It's a question of economics. The argument most recyclers give for not recycling difficult parts is that their customers don't pay for it. So how can we ensure that recyclers' customers pay them enough for the recycling of all fractions, not only the ones that are already positive in value?
So again,
how do we ensure that? Yeah.
So as Josh was also saying, see, economics has to work. So if the economics doesn't work, so how we make it work? If it works on its own, great. Otherwise, you use some policy. You start putting some fines, putting some, say, for example, in Western European countries, when they try to promote biogas, they put a lot of landfill tax. So just so that organic waste will not go to the landfill. If it goes to the landfill, you have to pay certain euros per ton. So that made the economics work for the recycling industry. So either if it works on its own, great. It doesn't work on its own, give some incentive to the industry, give some tax breaks to the industry. Of course, not have the same GST for recycler. In fact, our recycling industry in India suffers a lot because of the same rate of GST. In fact, sometimes even higher GST than what the virgin material is getting that. So that kind of tax, tax simplification, incentivization, and hand holding of the industries is needed, at least in the first initial years, to make it actually work. So at the end of the day, economics has to work either directly or indirectly. Then only things will, recycling industry will be there. And Nowadays, the circularity, see, for example, anything you sell in the European Union that is going to come up in 1st January 2026, it has to have that lower carbon footprint, has to have certified carbon footprint. So those things, again, will push recycling and those content. So, yeah, and I think along that line, we need to do something on that.
Thank you, Dr. Dubey. In fact, I just wanted to add because, yes, as the participant had mentioned, in theory, almost everything can be recycled, and it's a question of economics. It's not just, I just want to make a small difference over there. It's not just economics. As you pointed out earlier when you talked, it's also a question where there are lab scale solutions, there are not industry level solutions that are still available. So it is not just the economics that is holding you back, it is also that the solutions are not yet at the industrial scale. So as long as even that happens, and the economics obviously have to work. And to go back to what Dr. Saurikhia said, is that maybe it should not be a penalty on the producer. It should be somewhere tied up end to end in such a way that we are able to support each other, and either both with material, it's not a penalty, and everybody is able to. As it truly becomes a circular value chain, and not become forward logistics and reverse logistics, which are independent of each other, and we are able to establish a circularity, then I guess a lot will work. Are there any other questions? Yeah, Dr. Saurikhia, were you about to say something?
No, largely done. I believe, again, would like to reiterate that this industry, recycling industry, which has the responsibility to ensure circularity, rather, one of the major stakeholder in this, should be nurtured well in terms of what type of difficulties they are facing, and without should means like for establishing a robust recycler industry, there should be no penalty or no cess on the manufacturing side, which in itself is facing disabilities. Largely, this is from ICEA. This is our stand. We are a strong advocate of circularity. That is one thing, but business sense should prevail.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of us are in it for that. Thank you very much. In fact, Dr. Dubey mentioned about the GST, and one of the things that gets arbitrated a lot is the GST percentages. Hopefully, the double bonus that we are supposed to be hearing about over Diwali will take care of all these. Will take care of all these kind of things. So let's look forward to it. And on that note, I would really like to thank Dr. Saurikhia, Dr. Dubey, and Josh, for being here, sharing your thoughts. And it's been a wonderful panel to be a part of. So thank you very much. I also use the opportunity to thank our sponsors once again, which are Apple, Dell Technologies, Canon India, Cisco, and Ericsson, for supporting us run these webinars. Thank you very much. All the best, and a very good evening to all of you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mani. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.